Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell. Welcome to Week in Review here at the Dice Tower, where we talk about the different videos we did over the past week, and we give you kind of short summaries of what we think about them. Here we go.
Hey everybody, I'm Z Garcia. Here's what I reviewed last week. So I did 3,000 Scoundrels. I rated this one a 6 out of 10. I thought it had some really clever ideas, some incredibly interesting card creation going on where you take two things, put them together, bam, it creates a new, flavorful, funny sometimes card. And all of these interesting things are in service of a game, and especially an end game, that simply isn't there. The game's scoring is mundane. The objective, the ultimate goal just seems not interesting enough to support everything else going on. It is the personification of the journey is more important than the destination. But I also want an interesting destination. This one doesn't give it to me. I reviewed Pumafiosi, which I rated a 7 out of 10. This is a trick-taking game in which as you win those tricks, and you do not win by being the highest card, by the way, you want to be second highest. If you manage to do that, then you then assign that card to a ranking, and if it sticks around in that ranking, you'll get some victory points. It's a very clean, straightforward idea. It works well. There's some push your luck with where you decide to plug in your card. Hopefully it'll stick around. If it continues to drop, you'll keep losing points for that. The whole thing has an outside of the box look and feel to it, but it's approachable, it's engaging, and I did enjoy it. And then lastly, I reviewed Starship Captains, which I rated an 8 out of 10. This was a big surprise for me. I'm not normally a big fan of CGE games. I'm not normally a fan of Star Trek. This one clearly is Star Trek inspired a little bit. You are moving around, you are completing missions. There's a nice amount going on that you have to manage, but none of it feels hefty. None of it weighs you down. You can just sort of bumble along from one fun thing to another fun thing, and that seems to work out well. And as you play game to game, you'll start to enjoy the game blossoming, on the table. I really like this one. I think it's nice that it grows with the player, and you will not feel like you're not doing well the first time, even if you indeed do not do well. Funny, but not overly, humorous. It doesn't put too much emphasis on that. The whole thing comes together in a lovely package that really surprised me. So that is Starship Captains, and that's it for me, folks. I'll see you on the next one.
Ahoy cadets, Chris here. This week I took a look at 3 games. The first was Starship Captains. I gave a 6.5. This is a fun little action selection game. A lot about the technologies, flying around your ship and completing missions and stuff. It's neat, but it doesn't have enough of a game arc for me. It's fun, beautiful presentation, but solid and okay good gameplay. Next up, Lacrimosa, I gave an 8. This is a heavier game from De Vere. You are playing as patrons of Mozart trying to complete his Requiem. What an amazing theme. A pretty good implementation of the theme into a game. While it's not super thematic, it is a very solid game. Fun little bit of engine building. Good production, maybe a little bit too large for me in terms of actual just table presence, but very fun, an 8. And lastly, Pumafiosi. Also an 8. This is a Rainer Knizia, a trick-taking game of sorts where you always want to be second. Well, sometimes you want to be second. There's a lot of layers to it. You're playing out these cards and you're trying to set out your values and you're trying to value how many points that trick that you won will be worth at the end of a round. Very unique little system. Highly recommend it. So an 8 for Pumafiosi, and that's been my week.
Week in review. This week I did 5 reviews. 5. I've never done that many before, so hey, here we go. The first one I did was Marvel Champions Mutant Genesis box. This is X-Men coming to Marvel Champions. I love Marvel Champions. I love the X-Men. I gave this one a 10 out of 10. Super fun playing against all the villains. I also looked at some of the hero packs. I looked at Cyclops, which is super cool with tactics. He's very good in multiplayer with adding stuff to all the characters, kind of manipulating like the bad guys and messing things up, and then having a bunch of leadership and being able to add tons of X-Men into his deck. I gave him an 8. And then also the Phoenix hero pack as well. I think she's really good, gonna be fun in solo. She's got cool stats, but she has that like risk reward thing of turning her Unleash and maybe the Dark Phoenix coming out and wrecking your day. I gave her a 9 out of 10. Super awesome there. And then also I took a look at Quirky Circuits. This is a programming game, cooperative. It's a lot of fun. I played it with my kids. I played it with Game Group. I gave this one a 7. I think it's really good with kids, especially if you want that cutesy effect, and it's a cool cooperative programming game where you can't talk about what you're doing. Then also I looked at 3,000 Scoundrels. I love the card like building of this game, how each time the guys can kind of be different, but overall I just felt like the powers a lot of times didn't really mesh up for me, and like I guess it depends on how they come out, but it's like, oh, get money, get money, get money just to get more of these guys. It felt inconsequential, and the point score were so low. Go watch my review on that. I gave it a 5.5. So many games, awesome.
Hey everyone, a light week for me this week as we got back from Essen and trying to kind of get our feet back under us, but I did take a look at Starship Captains, which I came in at an 8 for. I really enjoyed what this game was doing with the... I struggled to even name what the mechanism was. It was some movement, but it's not quite pick up and deliver, it's not quite action selection, not quite worker placement, but kind of a combination of all those, and it really worked for me. So one that I would definitely get to the table again. Starship Captains, 8. Let's keep going.
Hi, I'm Wendy Yee, and this week I reviewed Lacrimosa. I give it a 7.5. I think that it is a good, solid Euro game, if that's what you're going for and that's what you like. The music theme is fun and I appreciate that it exists. I don't feel like it ties into the mechanics, but the mechanics are good and that's really what matters to me. I really appreciate this idea of on a turn you place a card in the top for its action and in the bottom for its like end of round resource collection. I think that that's a very cool thing. I like the idea of being able to improve your deck even though your deck is only 9 cards and continues to stay 9 cards. So you have a lot of those choices of what am I going to get rid of? What am I going to keep? How am I going to build my engine? So there's a lot of cool stuff going on with that. And yeah, that's my pick for this week.
Hey there everybody, it's Mike DeLisio, and this week I was a part of 2 reviews. First of all, I reviewed Pumafiosi, which is a re-implementation of an older card game by Reiner Knizia with a few little twists added on. I gave Pumafiosi a 7.5 out of 10. This is a clever card game, a very simple one where you have a hand of 3 cards, and what you are trying to do is win a trick, kind of a trick-taking style game, but you don't win it by having the highest value card, you win it by having the second highest value card. And if you do win that, then you have to put it in a hierarchy to try to gain a certain number of points, but other cards can come along later in the round and bump you down and lose you points. Very simple rules, very clever little twists, and some nice little variant tokens that you can add to it that I would probably put in every game. So, Pumafiosi, solid game. The other game I reviewed was 3,000 Scoundrels, the newest game from designer Corey Konetsuga and Unexpected Games. This is a game with a really cool theme, a Western theme with a little bit of sci-fi that doesn't really come through. I also rated 3,000 Scoundrels a 7.5 out of 10. It's really essentially a filler game. It's a very, very light game, plays very quickly. You can play a short game or a long game, but even the long game is likely going to be done in less than an hour. I really like what this game is doing. It's not a very heavy game. It's not like a crunchy, brain-burny game, but it has some neat little bluffing elements. It's got some cards that are kind of like the card crafting where you slide them in and it creates all kinds of different fun powers. I really like what this game is doing, and it's definitely continuing in the line of this publisher of doing games that are slightly off the beaten path, and I'm interested to see what they continue to do. All right, well, that's it for me this week. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, I did another in my series of 6 games I played, so you don't have to. All of those games are ranked 5 or less, so you can go check out that to see those 6 games if you like them or not. A few other games I took a look at this week. Spaceship Unity, I looked at it with my kids. They liked it more than me, but I still enjoyed it. It's a silly game. We're using a vacuum cleaner, yo-yo, whatever you might have around the house, a sink full of water to play a fairly complex game, actually. There's a lot going on. It's a love it or hate it style game I think for families. You play it at your house. I also took a look at Starship Captains. Starship Captains, a new game from CGE. I liked it. There's a lot of cool actions. It's a little smaller than I thought it would be, but it's light and breezy in many ways. 7 out of 10. Lacrimosa, This is a much bigger, heavier style game about Mozart and a card, and I really enjoyed the card building and the different actions of this game, how they all came together. 8 out of 10. 3,000 Scoundrels. This one I really struggle with because this was a tough one to give a rating to because there's just so much going on in the game, and I love the concept of the game so much. But the game feels like it's just a smidge. There's just one thing missing. The concept, the art, everything is amazing, but the game for me just misses where I want it to be. That one's a 6.5. Other than that, things we did this week. We played the new Tainted Grail, Kings of Ruin, live. We introduced our new show, Board Game Smorgasbord. We did another episode of Board Game Breakfast. We talked about our stuff we did at Essen and things that we saw. We did a crowd surfing, and we voted on the most beautiful board game covers of all time. So all that came out this week. We got more coming next week. Until then, I'm Tom Vassell. If you want to see more, the full reviews and everything, click the links below. Until next time, you've been watching Week in Review on the Dice Tower.